Hi, Royals. Happy Monday. This is an incredible chat we're about to have today, one that isn't available anywhere. So it's going to build up to the main topic if you have the patience to listen to the context as we go. So make sure you listen to the end. So, those of you who have worked with me or who know me or are a fan of my work or, in any way, know that I'm a big fan of royal elegance, and part of that is how women dress in the royal circles. So if you think of Queen Elizabeth or Queen Rania or pretty much the entire royal lineage anywhere in the world, you will find that they have things in common, which are dressing modest and covered. If you go to the French sort of 60s elegance, you will find that also women used to dress covered. And then they would even throw on a little scarf as an indicator of even higher status. A lot of etiquette courses actually teach women how to use a scarf. Now, what is interesting is none of these etiquette schools or these elegant systems tells us where they got the standard from, because it must come from somewhere. It seems like a common denominator across all, major royalty families. Doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter the country. It doesn't matter the culture. It seems there is consensus when it comes to a woman's dress code that covered is the way. And by covered, I mean you usually find that even Melania, right? Even her is mimicking, which I say even because not because of anything other than the fact that her husband is just a president. I'm saying just because I mean that is still not royalty level, but they have to, of course, dress same as because they're dealing with families of that caliber. Now, as I said, nobody tells you where that comes from, but I'm going to tell you where it comes from, and we're going to go all the way to debunk today one of the most epic lies about the Islamic dress code for women. So bear with me. So, first thing you have to know about royal families and royalty in general is that we have royal families because at some point they were appointed by spiritual reign. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. So you can look it up, but all royal families trace back to a prophecy of some sort. And so, whatever is considered the most elegant way to dress is, in fact, inspired by spiritual rules of or the royal dress code, as I call it, which has been traced in the spiritual history of feminine elegance, which is today's topic. How do we know that? Well, let me take you to Quran that I know pretty well and that I know they lied on a lot. Let's rectify something. When I ask women what they think a Muslim woman should dress like, and unfortunately, this is even Arabs have a twisted perception of what that is, they will tell you that you need to wear they generally would imagine a woman that is invisible in black, right? What if I tell you that is not an Islamic outfit? So follow with me to debunk this whole myth and regain the royal dress code intact from the text. We have the quote from the Quran that indicates the proper dress code for women in the Surah An-Nur, which is Ayah 31. Now, I will read it in Arabic first. يَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Okay? Now, a shocker for you could be that the translation they have to this in English is falsified. They translated it as, I'm going to speak it now in English, and they draw their head coverings or veils over their chests. Here's why it's falsified. Quran has a language proper to it. It is only explained by itself. So for example, yadribna in the informal Arabic, in the everyday Arabic, would mean hitting, right? Now, in the Quranic context, yadribna, and how to understand it is you take the word and you look for it in every other context in the Quran, and then you extract those places where the word is, and then you make connections, see what the meaning really is. Now, if you go to every place in the Quran with the word daraba, yadribu, this word is, you will find that it actually means just put something, that isolates it, put something that hides it, put like an isolation, put a level of isolation, meaning cover it. In this context, it would mean cover it. So yadribna bi khumurihinna ala juyubihinna, here's where the big lie has been. The word khumurihinna comes from khamr. Khamr means wine, for example, one of the meanings. So khamr comes from the fermentation process. So something that can undergo fermentation in the body can only be sweat, right? So here, the ayat is hinting at places in the body that have the conditions that could create sweat. And then to confirm that, there's the next word that comes, which is juyubihinna. The word juyub would literally translate into pockets. Now, when we put this whole thing in perspective, what we understand is juyubihinna, or pockets, actually means crease. A crease, because we're looking for a crease in the body. So now to collect these 3-4 words and just glue them together, what meaning do we have? We have that the original dress code for a woman means that she should cover places where there is crease. That would mean cleavage, elbows, and just slightly below the knees. Guess who dresses like that? Royal families. They hide every crease. And so the more you dress that way, the more you are modest, the more it's perceived as high status. And so to continue, the one place where you don't have a crease is your head. So it is absolutely within Quranic norm of a dress code for a woman not to wear cloth on her head, a veil. Now, what does the veil mean? If a person chooses to wear a veil, it would indicate a level of consciousness that is extremely high, that normally very few people would get to. And they protect their head, or they cover it as a high status signal, but this status isn't just about regular things that we understand. It's about spiritual status. So it is besides the point to wear a veil if you're an everyday person doing everyday, or if you simply haven't yet decided. Again, it is not mandatory. Now, why do the Arabs so fiercely attack this? Well, let's not forget historically that the exact tribes that welcomed the message of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all the other prophets, these are people who have had the worst habits ever. These are not like the best tribes in the world. So their habits towards women were extremely harmful. So Islam came to ease that. So even after easing that, it seems like they really, really still have an issue with that. So they had to bombard Islam with their fatwas and misinterpret everything in the Quran or even go against the Quran, because there is a word in Arabic that is a terrible word called awra. It's basically, to them, a woman is awra. They literally used to say that in the Arab world. So what is awra? It's basically even her hands are sexualized. Her face is sexualized. They think of her entirely as a sexual being that needs to be covered up for their convenience and to cover their face. Now, you will debate, and I get this a lot, all these niqabi women, the women who wear the whole, you hide their whole self, always in black. I don't know, there's nothing in the Quran that says there's one color you should spend your entire life wearing, and that should be the color of doomsday. I'm sorry to say. They will argue that that's their choice. I would say that's going against Quranic teachings. Quran is for the middle ground. And so being entirely naked or entirely covered are both opposite to the middle solution that Islam is usually for, right? So actually they are dealing with an infraction, right? So as I said, it's uncomfortable to a lot of the mindsets in the Arab world to submit to the word of God in the Quran. They really just don't want it. They really, really don't. They can't stand it. They want to keep oppressing women the way they used to. And what best way to do it other than hire men who are these fatwa guys that will tell you that that's what the Quran says. The danger of this is also lately with all the crazy geopolitical things going on. I've been getting a lot of DMs from converts to Islam as a very unusual side effect of the war. People have been looking for truth. They are very genuine in their research, and a lot of them have ended up, in the research of Islam. And they ask me this, well, you seem very knowledgeable, but you're not wearing a veil. I said, I'm not supposed to be wearing one. And it's usually shocking to them. And the other shocking thing that I tell them is that the Quran they're reading in English has been falsified because, just like the example I gave, it's been translated according to the tribal meaning that they want you to have based on the fatwas. So if you really want to learn, that's a big problem, by the way. So if you really want to learn the rules, you have to escape the matrix they created around the Quran. You have to escape the mess of the false poisonous hadith in the Bukhari. You have to stick with Quran. That is the only book that's going to matter. That is the book that has the entire teachings. The Quran is complete. So you cannot be feeling like you're missing something if you apply it, right? And so now when you think of Grace Kelly or if you think of super elegant women dressing in a way that is considered Islamic standard, that is a completely different outlook on life. And usually it frees women, right? Now, my mother personally has been always wearing a veil, and she doesn't want to let it go because I asked her the real why, and she said she's been just too programmed to feel like she can take it off. That there would be so much judgment around that. But she knows it's not mandatory, at the very least, right? And so what I want you to take with you from this is that the visual of whatever Islam is that they want to turn it into, you won't find it with anything that doesn't resonate with your heart. If something looks to you repulsive to your fitra, fitra is the innate nature, right? If you don't think a person has to be entirely covered up and wearing black out of all colors, Islam is not a death sentence, it is an invitation to life. It's an invitation to, it's the highest spiritual system we have on earth. If you're a researcher, you know that, it's facts. And so it completes the other systems, it doesn't contradict them, right? Now, you want to wear a veil, that's fine. But no, you don't have the right to cover yourself entirely to the point where you're not someone we can see the face of and know who we're dealing with. That's a violation of public rights and also safety issues, especially in the world we're in today. And also, it's a violation of the Quranic wisdom itself, which always insists on balance, right? So going extreme in nudity or being covered are both a violation. And this is what no researcher in Islam will tell you if they are a man, number one. This is why, by the way, in the Quran, there is a verse that forbids any man from giving their opinion on women, including prophets. So just digest that. All of these red pill podcasters online and these fatwa men with their beards up to their knees talking about what women should or shouldn't do, they're doing a violation. God said he's the only one that can create the law about women. And you know why? Because men will always side with their tribal or environmental programming. This is just facts. So if their grandmothers used to dress in niqab, they would want that to continue. And how they do that is they will fight every single woman who doesn't wear it, call her all kinds of names. And just because she's not wearing what they perceive as being a good woman, their problem really is with them perceiving a woman as sexual entirely. That's their issue, is they cannot transcend that animalistic, simplistic way of being and realize that a woman is a human being. And not only that, but she develops a character after that and can complete men. She can excel at domains that men know nothing about. For example, my expertise, immaterial wealth. Very high profile men come to me to help me understand themselves, their identity, change their life, change their inner world, one of the hardest things to do for someone. And converts come to me also to explain to them some of the secrets in Quran. So basically, to sum it up, next time you're in an etiquette class, next time you want to dress like Grace Kelly, remember that too is Islamic dress code that is 100% correct. Have a wonderful day, and this was Iman bin Salem.